Welcome to the Broadside Podcast.
With host, my dad, Andy Elliott.
Welcome back to the Broadside Podcast. I am Andy Elliott, and on this episode, I'm joined by Ross Sharp from the Crazy Elk Company. Ross is a guy I've got to know over the last year or so through advocacy for hunting rights and just fundraiser events and stuff like that. Ross has put together a campaign for a shirt to buy to raise money for Sportsmen's Alliance to fight for our rights here in Washington State for hunting. So we talk a little bit about that, along with who he is and how Crazy Elk Company came to be, some of his products that are awesome in my opinion, and kind of the situation here in Washington State as well. Kind of the same trend, can't talk about what they're doing to us enough. So I hope you enjoy this episode. I'm going to drop a bunch of links in the show notes to further help you find where Ross's shirt's for sale, where all money, all profit is going towards a fundraiser for Sportsmen's Alliance. Thank you guys for listening, and
I'm ready.
Hope you like it. All righty. Yeah, well, we'll just have you start by introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about your background.
Well, my name is Ross Sharp. I'm over the 50 mark as officially. Well, I'm 52, but I grew up here in Washington. Started hunting when I was 12. I actually went with my uncle when I was younger. I was always like the bird dog, or always the one to chase animals out so they could get whatever. And then gone fishing. I kind of went away from hunting for a little bit. Just, I don't know, the area that we grew up in, and I kind of got involved in some things I shouldn't have been doing. And my aunt saw that, and so they kind of brought me back into, hey, let's go fishing or let's go hunting. And so I started going, and then stopped getting in trouble and started having fun in the outdoors. And that's how I got into hunting, and just been hunting with my uncle till he was too old that he couldn't hunt anymore. He couldn't climb the hills. And then a high school buddy that was like, hey, why don't you come hunt with us? And so I've been hunting with them hunting elk with them for 30 something years. And then I have a buddy I go bird hunting with, and I have another buddy that I do archery hunting with. And so I have we're all actually in the circle of friends, but like my friends that elk hunt, they don't archery hunt, they just rifle hunt. And then my other friends, anyway, we all hunt, but we all don't hunt together at the same time. So that's how I kind of got into the hunting thing. And after kind of learning the hard way, it took me, 10 years to get my first elk. That's kind of a common story for everybody. And most of it for me was just a learning curve, because when I was with my uncle, when I was younger, his idea was we would go somewhere and he would put me in a spot, and he would say, stay here, this is what you're looking for. If you see it, shoot it, type thing. And I'll come back and get you, and so I just sat there bored out of my mind forever, trying to keep warm sometimes. But when I got older, I really like to put in the miles and put in the work and try to figure out where they're going. And hunting with my buddies, I was able to do that. And I really learned the areas, and I really learned the escape routes and the feeding areas. And then after 10 years, after I got my first elk, it just kind of clicked, and I went on a tear from there, and just loved it. And 1 year after I got a bull, actually it was just a spike. As we were, just got done taking pictures, and we were, taking care of the animal, this guy shows up and he starts talking to us, and next thing you know, he shows us his badge, and he's like, hey, I need to see your tag and your license. And I'm like, all right. So, I untape it from the antlers and I show it to him, and everything was kosher, and he went about his way. And then we got done and made our first trip out with the elk. It was about, I don't know, 3 miles. And we get back to the truck, and there's another game warden, different guy. And he's like, hey, I need to see your license and tag. I'm like, well, I just showed the guy down there. And he's like, I still need to see it. So I had to take it off to show him. And in the process, the tag ripped, but, because it was there with him, he didn't care. And after that is when the wheels started turning in my head about how can I, what can I do to make this easier? And I started making some products and gave it to my friends to test, and they'd come back to me with feedback. And then now we have the tag wallet, and the tag wallet is the flagship of Crazy Elk at the moment. We're working on some other things. And this year, it's looking like for sure I'll have, at least by elk season, my other product done for everybody to use. Hopefully it'll be by August so I can actually sell it before elk season hits. But yeah, and that's how Crazy Elk got started. And when I started Crazy Elk, so obviously Crazy Elk is not my full-time job. I just kind of do it on the side. And when I started it, I made a deal with my wife. I'm not going to take out all these big loans. I'm just going to start it from the ground up and, do it with what money I have. And I also, with the intent of whatever I make, I'm going to give back to the hunting community in forms of, like charity, or, like I helped out with Youth Outdoors Unlimited. I took some kids elk hunting. And then, I sold the t-shirt, and all the profits for that t-shirt went to them. And then I've done some veteran stuff. I've donated a bunch of tag wallets and hats and stuff like that to veteran outfits that take people hunting. I've gone on one veteran hunt, and then I've also done some things to help get women and kids into hunting as well. And I would say, yeah, I guess it's about 50% of the profits go to charitable donations, and then the rest goes back into the company so I can just keep, buying shirts and hats and rolling it into other products.
Yeah, that yeah. So I'm going on, I think I don't know, maybe it was a year ago I bought the tag wallet. I caught a glimpse of it and I was like, damn, that's a friggin' genius idea. And I tell everybody about it. I'm like, this thing is like, just so much easier to deal with. I don't got to deal with taping it and all that crap. And it's nice and clean, keeps it dry for the most part, unless you're in Western Washington, nothing stays dry over there. But yeah,
Right.
and it's funny you say like all your profits are 50% go to charity, because I think the only times that me and you have actually crossed paths have been at fundraisers. Which
I've been at to a lot of them lately. Yeah.
yeah, I commend you for it. That's awesome to see. That's what you're doing with your time and efforts. Um, a lot of people skip over that part of the community, I guess. Um, so how long ago did you start Crazy Elk Company?
I started it on February 13th on my birthday on 2020.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
like
Yeah,
I mean, it was in the works. I mean, I had my business license before that, but like my website officially launched on that day. And the products that I had, and it's obviously that was like later on that February is when the whole world shut down. So
yeah,
um, thank God for like Instagram and Facebook, because if it wasn't for those things, nobody would have known who I was. Um, and there's a lot of people who still don't know who I am, but it's a slow process. I've told my wife a couple of times. I said, well, uh, if I was to quit my other job and focus on this, full time, it could, probably uh, make up the money, except for my job has really good benefits. So I think until I reach at least 59 and a half, I'm stuck there. So Crazy Elk's a part-time gig until then.
Yeah, what's your if you don't mind me asking, what's your normal day job?
I work for Costco Wholesale.
Oh, nice.
I am the wine, liquor, and beer merchant. Yeah.
Right on. I've heard nothing but good things about Costco from people I know that work there.
So, a lot of people ask me, that question. And for what Costco is, Costco, I mean, they treat their people well. The benefits are awesome. Um, and what they contribute, retirement wise and all that stuff is really good. Um, I don't make, I mean, there's a lot of people out there that make way more money than me, but for what, Costco being in the retail business, Costco pays, fairly well. Obviously, if I wanted to make more money, I could go somewhere else, but I don't know. I've been there long enough to where I get weekends off, which in the retail business, that's, not really heard of. Um, and also they give a lot of vacation and they work with you, really well. Yeah.
Yeah, it's always good to have a good day job. So it's funny you say, about the same time, 2020, is when I filled out my application for my FFL. Uh, and like the world came to a halt. I stopped that process. It's kind of the same, um, kind of living the same story. And then once we all kind of got going again, I redid that and I did the same thing like you did. And I can tell you, I know it's a struggle to start a business like that without taking out any loans. I've done my outdoor uh FFL gun stuff without any bank loans. It's actually not that easy to get bank loans when you're doing it for guns. Um,
Right.
at least a couple of places I looked at. But I know that can be kind of a struggle, and I think you're doing a great job. It's pretty cool stuff you're coming out with. I'm excited. I kind of have an idea what you're coming out with next. I'm excited to see what it is. But in small world too, you mentioned you did a T-shirt for Youth Outdoors Unlimited.
Right.
I want to say it was last year at the Sportsman show. I talked to them on this podcast, so that was pretty
Okay.
cool. Um,
To Cindy and
to Cindy, yep, and
yeah,
her
yeah.
husband.
Okay. Right.
Uh, yeah, I went down and met them at their booth, and we just did a live podcast there. It was actually really cool because during that, a kid, and if you don't know what Youth Outdoors Unlimited is, it's a nonprofit who gives terminally ill or I guess maybe I'm not saying this right, but sick kids an opportunity to go hunt and fish, correct?
Right. Yep.
And
Yep.
so while I was there chatting with him, a kid actually, I believe he was in a wheelchair, came up with his mom and dad, and I got to kind of see, like, we paused the interview, she went over and chatted with him, and I got to see kind of how awesome that is for those kids to see that wheelchair they have outfitted with a rifle and the chance that they have to get to go out and hunt. It was pretty awesome to see firsthand.
Yeah. I did a couple elk hunts with some kids, and the first year I went, it was just north of me here, and we met the parents. The kid was a cancer survivor. Um, but I'm like, we're talking very fresh survivor. So, he still didn't really have a lot of hair, and you could still tell by the way he walked that, he was struggling. But he wanted to go on an elk hunt. And so that's what we did. And he ended up not getting an elk due to, like, the first day, um, we saw a spike, and the guy that was basically heading the thing, he's like, oh no, we can hold out. That could be like a last day thing. Um, and we did see some, big branch bulls, but because of how slow he was, he just wasn't able to, get situated enough to get a shot. We did do some sitting, but yeah, it just didn't work out. But he just watching him see the elk, because he had actually never even seen an elk in person before,
Oh wow.
and or heard an elk bugle, and you could just see his face light up, and it was really cool. And his parents came along, and they were actually surprised he wanted to go, hunting, because they didn't know anything about hunting. And so it was eye opening for them as well. And it was just, 3 days of really cool interaction, and it's good for the soul.
Yeah, yes, it is. And that's kind of like you said earlier, you mentioned something about kind of getting into some bad stuff in your past. And the more I do this and the more I learn about some people that are outside of my inner circle, like my family, the more I realize that hunting is good for the soul, right? Like I've met a ton of people that were in a bad place in life, and uh when you ask them like, what changed, they're like, oh, I'm totally into hunting. And that's a common thing I hear. And
Right.
then, especially for kids like that. And that's kind of what she said. She said a lot of the kids that they get, their parents might not be into hunting, so they don't really have an avenue to take them.
Right.
So it's a cool thing to see.
Yeah. And like if I would have started Crazy Elk when I was in my 20s, it'd probably be like different than it was when I was older, because I've accomplished what I think is quite a bit. I mean, you can't see my whole room here, but you know, I've done pretty well in my hunting life, and for me now, and I can say this because I am older, and I look at things different. That I want to bring more people into it, and I want to help people. And actually, if I get an elk or a deer, it doesn't really matter. But if I can help somebody else get one, you know, that makes me happy. Especially now that I have two kids, and my oldest is 10, and she hunted her first time last year. And because of the impatience thing with a child, she ended up not getting one. But you know, yeah, I'm excited about it, and I like helping people, and that's kind of what my whole thing with Crazy Elk is for.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, kids change it all, right? Like since I've had them, a lot of the times when I'm out places, like I took them shed hunting last weekend. Uh they're 5 and 3, so you can only imagine how that went in the
Right,
cold.
right,
Um, but we didn't find anything. I got to teach them about, looking for tracks and the different kinds of poop, and
right.
they're pointing out bedding areas after they kind of got to see what one looked like. So that was pretty cool, and that's changed a lot of my perspective too about when I'm hunting. I'm like, man, this would be a cool place for to be able to take my kids, or a lot of times I'm looking for places and scouting for places for them because I didn't really like come up with a whole bunch of places on my own. I've been kind of searching them all myself. So I'd like to be able to hand down hand down the Onyx waypoints.
Yeah,
But so I don't know if you want to get into it now. We can chat about your yeah, let's do that. Let's chat about your t-shirt and what you're the raising funds for, and then we can get into the weeds with some of the stuff that we've been involved in lately.
right.
So you've got this t-shirt on your website for sale, and yeah, if you want to go ahead and explain to everybody what that's all about.
Yeah. So, I'm sure your listeners, know what's going on. You've had a lot of people on your podcast talking about it. Um, and when I first met you guys at that fundraiser up north, that Bear Country put on, um, it just got the wheels turning. I actually was thinking about it beforehand, um, but I wasn't sure if I was going to do it. But then after going to that fundraiser, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do this, because we're backed sadly into a corner. Like, and how it happened is as hunters, and I said this in my speech when we were at the commission meeting, we tend to mind to our own business. And, in my mind back then, the commission is there, they're looking out for our best interest. Well, as we have all grown up, and we've seen glimpses here and there of, like PETA and all them trying to fight hunting, and the Humane Society trying to fight hunting, but you never actually thought it was going to come to fruition. Um, but they've been, saving up their money, and I'm just going to say it, buying politicians, because I think that's what has happened. And they made relationship with politicians to where now they're putting anti-hunters because, Humane Society and Washington Wildlife First and all these people are putting money in the pockets of the governor to say, hey, we helped you get elected, or we helped you do this. Now it's time for you to help us. Hey, let's put some of our people on your wildlife commission, right? So here we are. We lost the spring bear season for no reason at all. And now, as of tomorrow, they are working on decreasing our season and how many we were allowed to get. And I was just tired of it. And so, not wanting to do an auction really, I said, how can I raise some funds? So, I started researching stuff. I thought about doing a raffle, but because of I'm a for-profit company, there's a lot of problems that go with that. I tried reaching out to a nonprofit to see if we could work together, but if my company is going to be the one bringing in the money to disperse it later, it wouldn't work. So I had to create this game of chance. So by doing that, I reached out to my friend Samong and I said, hey, I'm thinking about, doing this as a fundraiser. Do you think you'd be on board? And he's like, hell yeah, 100%. I mean, and so I'm like, okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to sell this t-shirt. And besides the cost of the t-shirt, all the profits are going to go to Sportsmen's Alliance to help, fight our fight legally for us. And then I reached out to you. Actually, I don't even think I reached out to you. I think we were on that Zoom meeting, one day, and I just said, hey, I think I'm going to put on this contest. And you're like, hey, Ross, I have an FFL. I'll throw a gun out there. And Joel Schwecker was on the call, and he's like, hey, I'll do a fan mount. I'm like, oh, crap, here we go. So then I just started reaching out to other people, and we got this big package that right now where it sits, I mean, you're supplying a gun. Jason Phelps is supplying a call package. Another guy's supplying a custom-made pot call. P and Wild is donating a knife. Harrod Outdoors is donating the seasoning to go with your, turkey once you get it. Elusive Outdoors is coming up with a turkey carrier to carry it. And Vortex, Simone got Vortex to donate some binoculars and a product that nobody knows what it is. And then at the end, you got Black River, who's going to do your turkey fan mount for you. And then we had some private individuals step forward. Actually, it's the coalition. It was a private individual. Now it's the coalition because he is a member of the coalition. Is paying for the licenses and tags. And Scott Frick is donating a turkey vest. And then Jim Huntsman at the Western Huntsman is donating a Spy Point trail cam. So basically, except for the clothes on your back, you're going to be set for this turkey hunt. Plus, you get to hunt with Samong for turkeys for 2 days, and I'm going to cook all your food. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah, I'm excited to see how that goes. I wanted to. I'm gonna bust my ass tonight because I know that this fundraiser ends at the end of February.
end of February, last day of February. Yep.
Okay, so I'm gonna try and edit this thing and get this out tomorrow so that people that maybe don't have social media that listen to the podcast, which apparently happens. I didn't know that, but there's some guys that I heard that I could not find on social media, but somehow they heard about this podcast, which was kind of cool. So I'm gonna get this thing out in the morning and try to drive some more traffic to that shirt. I'll make sure to tag everybody if I can get that list from you. Everybody that's donating stuff, I'll get them tagged in the show notes. I'm gonna tag your website and the link straight to the shirt. I know that you've kind of had a couple of guys that don't read it's not even the fine print, don't read the print at all.
Yeah.
So if you want to clear that up for some of the people, because I know that there's been some questions on how that's working.
Yeah. So, I wasn't sure how this fundraiser was going to go. And I mean, I could have went and spent my own money and bought, who knows how many shirts. Like I could have bought, 1,000 shirts, but if I only have a couple hundred people, then I end up sitting with, a bunch of other shirts. So I just figured I'll do like a pre-order type thing. And everybody who orders their shirt in January will get their shirt in February, which the shirts just showed up yesterday. I was starting to organize them today, and then tomorrow I'm going to start packaging them and over the weekend. So they'll be going out over the weekend for those guys. And then anybody who buys them in February will be getting theirs in March. Yeah, there was one guy, on the top of the thing, it says pre-order. And then also like when you go to click on your shirt, right under where it says buy now, there's a thing there that says, exactly what I just said. But this guy sent me an email and he was like, "Where's my shirt?" And I replied to his email and he never responded back. So I thought, he was cool with it. I even sent him a little snippet of what it said, underneath the shirt, and I never heard anything. And then a couple weeks later, he's like, "Where's my goddamn shirt?" And so I emailed him again and he didn't respond. But then the next day he's telling me, "This is a scam. I'm going to report you." So I ended up going back to his order, found his phone number. I called the guy and I could tell from the get-go he was going to be uncooperative. And I'm just like, it says on the site, this is what it is. And he's like, "When I order something, I want it right away." And I'm like, "Well, it's explained online when you look at everything." And I said, "This is not about me. I'm not making any money. This is not about you. This is about helping the cause to fight for our way of life." And he's like, "I don't care. I want my shirt." And I said, "Well, I don't have them." And I basically just ended up, refunding his money. He didn't want to be part of it anymore. I'm like, "Okay, well, I'm sorry." And then when I had to refund his money through the service I use, it would ask you, "Why are you refunding this money?" And I'm pretty sure that goes to the email when he's told he's getting refunded. I just said, "Customer can't read."
That's awesome. Yeah, it's not that hard of a concept to understand. I know
Yeah.
I've seen I doubt that's the only person that you've ran into that's had that question. I've seen somebody else online ask it, and um, man, it's right there, like plain as day.
Yeah. I've had 3 people ask me, but then once they got my email back, they were, cool with it. Um, there was that one guy who, basically said it was a scam. And then I actually had another guy who apparently he wasn't getting my emails and he ended up calling me. And I don't even know how he got my number because my number is not on the site as far as I know. But he basically accused me of, taking a picture of Samong, like, and making up this whole thing just so I could steal everybody's money. And
Oh,
I'm like, no, Samong is really here. And that's why I showed that clip the other day of Samong on his YouTube actually talking about it. I was like, no, here he is. The man himself is talking about the fundraiser. So it's a legit thing. I'm not trying to rip you off,
yeah,
but some people, you just got to let it go off your back.
yeah. You can't please them all. That's for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, so that's cool. So funds for that are going to Sportsmen's Alliance,
Right.
which I feel like those guys are going to have their hands full here coming up with more and more of the stuff we're finding that's been going on in the commission. Um,
Right.
I know I saw your post about and it was funny when you text me about that Barbara Baker podcast. As soon as you asked like about the two bears thing, like it literally clicked in my head. I'm like, oh, great call. Like that's exactly what she was doing.
Right. Yep.
So
Yeah, I've come to a point to where, like I know when we have our talks and everybody's like, when you email them, be nice, which I understand that. But like when it comes to a commission meeting, if I'm going to be sitting there talking, I'm almost to the point they have their agenda. I don't think, between Lorna, Baker, what's that other lady's name from Winthrop?
Roland.
Roland, yeah, Melanie, and then Lemcule. I call them the big four. I don't, they're pretty set. Um, like I talk to John, every now and then, and I really like John. I get frustrated with him though because he won't talk bad about them, right? And he won't really go into it. He's a professional, and that they're his fellow commissioners and whatever. Um, but he has told me that he thinks really high of Reagan, but I'm trying to figure out where that's coming from because every time I hear Reagan, it's always not really in our favor. So I don't know. I think 4 votes are lost. Obviously, John and Molly have always supported us, and then the other ones,
Jim. I mean,
or
Jim.
Jim. Sorry,
Yeah.
yeah. And then the rest of them. I don't know. I don't know what to think. I don't know if they can be swayed or if they're set. But the fact that they accepted this petition 7-2 in the first place from a group that is well known worldwide is against hunting.
Yeah.
Like, why do you even take a petition from, like, once it even says Humane Society on it, you should just say nope. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, weren't they? They were the ones that I want to say that it was California that they were trying to end some bear hunting, and I'm butchering this, but they were asked by one of the commissioners there what would be a suitable number for bears to, for you to support a hunt, and they literally came out and said none. It doesn't matter how many bears there are, we would never support a hunt. And
Right,
it's like right there, it's on public record. We all know now that they, no matter what the science says, they won't support it. How are we even considering their ideas? Like,
right,
it's frustrating because as a hunter, if you told me that shit, we don't have enough bears for a spring bear hunt, I'd be like, yeah, I get it, okay. But uh, they want to gaslight us
right,
and tell us we don't trust them for no reason.
right,
When in reality, you've given us no reason to trust you. You've done nothing
right,
but take things without cause.
right,
Um, and the due petition they've got coming out, the shit we're gonna find out about tomorrow, and it's just going down that same road as spring bear, where there's a very real chance that we won't be hunting bears or cats in Washington this year.
right. Yeah, it's unbelievable. And the thing that's really frustrating is I know some people who work for the state of Washington and are biologists, and I've talked to them, and they're like, we can't really say anything because it's our job. And I'm like, but like my biologist friends, I'm like, they are totally ignoring you, everything that you guys have said. I mean, some biologists have even quit.
Yeah.
They're like, we're fed up, we're done. This commission is you know and how a higher power, I mean, I guess would be Inslee, is corrupt as he is, how he cannot, I don't know, I'm going to go down a rabbit hole. I just don't understand, as a person, you can't see what's going on unless there's an agenda. The only thing I can say is there is an agenda to ruin hunting, and
Yeah,
they
I
don't care.
think I you know, I've learned, like, I heard somebody saying that, this is kind of a weird thought, but they were kind of mentioning, like, it would be bad for anti-hunting organizations to end hunting because then they wouldn't have anything to raise money on. Like, that's their whole job, right? Is
Right?
fighting
Yep.
against hunting. So you end it, and then what are your lawyers going to do now? Try to go fight off bird watchers? Like, what's your next step after that?
Right.
So it almost comes off like a huge racket and I know somebody else said too, and I wish I knew who it was, but they were explaining how there's a new law that if you sue the government, you sue the state or the government, federal government, you win, they have to pay all your lawyer fees. So what these guys are doing is they're campaigning for, like, a petition to raise money to get, let's say spring bear ended, right? And then,
Right.
or this wolf deal, and then that doesn't happen, but they've raised all this money for it, so they sue the state, and for something that maybe they know they're going to lose, but they can raise all the money backed by these people because they can say, "Hey, we're suing the state. We need all this money," even though they know they're
Right.
going to lose.
Right.
Or they win, they get all their money given back to them from the state, and then they've already collected all these funds from donations, so they've basically double dipped, and that's how they're funding a lot of their shit. It just seems like a big racket. Like it's a job
Huh.
to them. Most of those
Right.
people that we run into at those meetings are paid actors. It's always the same names. It's always the same people, and I think it is an
I lost
agenda.
you.
Hey guys, just want to take a break here for a second to remind you that as a Bucked Up ambassador, I'm offered a discount code that can get you 20% off your order from buckedup.com. Whether you need BCAAs, vitamins, proteins, creatine, testosterone boosters, recovery products, hydration, whatever it might be, put in code outdoors10, capital O outdoors10, and you'll get 20% off your order. I'll leave a link in the show notes for the store, along with a link for a free sampler pack where you get 3 single packs of a pre-workout of your choice and a shaker bottle for the cost of shipping. You hear me? So go check that out, and thanks.
You there?
Yeah, sorry, I lost you there for a
Okay.
sec. It's my boondocks. I probably got snow on my satellite. I got Starlink out here. We got like 6 inches of snow last night.
I lost
Um,
your picture now too. But
oh, you can hear me though?
I can hear you. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, we'll keep rolling. Um, yeah, so I think there's I don't know if it's Inslee's wife that's anti-hunting. And like that's part of the agenda that he's pushing. I don't think he
Right.
has really many thoughts on anything, to be honest with you. He just signs shit.
Right.
But there's definitely an agenda. Um, I don't know how we stop it. I know there's a petition in the works now to just get rid of the entire commission. I don't think that that's a good idea either, because
Right. Yeah.
then they
Yeah.
appoint
I think the
one person.
commission. I think the commission is a good thing, but I think on how it's structured needs to change. I think we need to get away from the governor appointee for one, because if we were to look at Washington and look, let's just say, we break up the state into nine regions. You're only going to have one region on our side that is going to vote, the Democrat like they always do. Everybody else, I would think, is going to vote for somebody who's actually going to be beneficial to the department. And so I think that would change things a lot. Now, how do we do that? I have no idea.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you would have to do it like that. You'd have to break it up into equal regions.
Right.
Um, where my area votes for my commissioner. So
Right.
so on. So, because if you just leave it up to like an open vote throughout the state, we lose again. That's just
No,
that
yeah,
king.
no, definitely. It would have to be a regional vote only, kind of like when you vote for school levies. Only the people in that area get to vote for it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it makes more sense because then the people that are affected the most in those areas are voting for somebody that can represent them who are getting livestock eaten by wolves, right? Like,
Right. Like
um,
this guy Wilson, I think, is the guy who put together the thing to get rid of the commission. I wonder if we can reach out to him and say, hey, maybe we could reword this next year and do it like I just said, move it out of the commission or of the governor's hands and make it a regional vote.
yeah, I mean, that's the best. I mean, realistically, that's how it should have been from the get-go. There shouldn't be unelected people making decisions for people. Like you're not representing anybody at that point. You weren't voted in to be there, right?
Right. Yep.
Or yeah, I mean, I don't know how you'd work that where I think that's the best laid path, really. Or you got to buy a. One of my ideas was like you can only vote if you hold a hunting license, and if you want to vote but don't hunt, you've got to buy a conservation license, right? And it's like $250 or whatever the
Right.
price of the average person pays, and that's your voters' right ID to vote for the commission. but and
Yeah.
then the funds can generate for conservation.
Yeah, that would be another way. I don't know. Like I said, a lot of that is beyond my knowledge base, like legally, but I think, at least trying to get it out of the governor's hands is a good start. And then, you could go from there. But yeah, I definitely agree with you. It needs to get away from what it is now so we can get these yahoos out of here. Which
Yeah, it's
I guess if this fall a miracle happens and we actually put a governor in there that's not Bob Ferguson, that could probably happen. He could fire those ones.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, like it would be awesome if we had a Republican governor and then, that person was the person appointing those positions, but I still think regardless of left or right of the governor, like we should be voting on these people if they're making decisions for us.
Yeah, yeah, I'm right there with you.
But yeah, so that's yeah. I mean, we're in a rough. I know there's a meeting tomorrow. I had something pulled up here a second ago. Um, the next so tomorrow is a web conference, and then March 14th and 15th there's a commission meeting coming up. Um, it looks like it is in Olympia. Where about were you located?
I live in Sumner,
Oh,
so I'm
okay,
about an hour south of the capital,
got you.
or north of the capital. I mean, sorry.
Um, so the giveaway or the hunt is with Cy Samong Yang. You've got a bunch
Yep,
of donors who've supplied you with a bunch of awesome gear.
yep.
Um, tags and licenses are paid for. I'm really hoping that whoever wins this thing gives the opportunity to their kid. I think that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Uh,
Yeah, I'm at the end of the month. I'm actually me and Samal are gonna do some fishing, and then when we're together, we're gonna draw, do the draw, and record it, and then put it out there for everybody to see. Um, yeah, I'm pretty stoked. I'm excited, for this to happen, and then give that money to Sportsmen's Alliance and see what they can do with it. Um, one of the things I think I told you, I threw out to them, and I don't know if they'll do it, but I even talked to Charles from Howell about it. Uh, you and me were in this social network and social media. So, like the people that pay attention to that stuff, they know the story. But last or 2 weeks ago, I guess now, when I was at the Sportsman Show here in Puyallup, I was walking around trying to promote the fundraiser, but most importantly, I was just trying to promote awareness of what's going on. And I had a ton of people that I talked to had no clue what was going on. Like they didn't know some of them didn't even know we lost the spring bear season 3 years ago. And so that needs to change. And I was telling Sportsman's Alliance and Howell, I said, hey, maybe we can take some of these funds and put an ad in the hunting regulations. And I don't know if the commission oversees, what goes in the booklet or not. And I don't think they can stop you because that's probably like a free speech thing. But if they could, just put a full page ad, like right towards the front, um, hey, this is who we are. This is why we're in Washington because, these things are going on, and just kind of point to let everybody know. So hopefully that could draw more support and more attention.
yeah, we chatted a little bit about that. I got a number from the person who puts those like they put together the hunting regs. They're contracted by the department, and I'll have to call them again. I've called them a couple times, and nobody's answered. So, um,
Oh, really?
Maybe. Yeah, they left the voicemail when they called me. I wasn't able to answer. So maybe what I'll do is I'll see if I can figure out what the company's name is. And I think it's on my phone, and then I'll just shoot them an email. But that'd be some good info to have. I don't think there's anything that they could do.
Right.
You pay for an ad spot as long as it's, you know, not insane.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you'd keep it civil, but also get your point across.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, yeah, did you ha- I knew I was going to ask you about that at the Sportsman show. How did that go? I mean, like, what was some of the reactions of some of those people? Because I saw your sign. It said something about if you don't fight for it and you lose it, don't complain, or something like that.
You can't be mad if you lose it if you don't do anything to keep it.
There you go. Yeah, which
Um,
is
and
a
then
great.
that was one side of the sign, and then the other side was just a picture of Samong saying, win a hunt. And people were looking at the picture of the win a hunt, but they didn't really stop. But when they saw the backside, and they were like, "Okay, what's this about?" Um, and my very first question is before I even tell you about the win a hunt, I said, "Do you know what is going on in our state with the Wildlife Commission?" And they're like, "No." And I'm like, "Okay, well, here, I'll break it down for you." And you know, I'd be like, "Did you know we lost the spring bear season?" And some of them were like, "Yeah," and a lot of them were like, "No." And then I'm like, "Okay, did you know that for sure three of our board members or chair, whatever you want to call them, commissioners, are anti-hunting?" And they're like, "No way." I'm like, "Oh no," for sure. And I'd get out my phone and I'd show them the little clips that I had and stuff, and a lot of people were really blown away by it. Um, I don't think it. I should have, told people if sign in for the Win a Hunt to help fund this thing, let me know how you came across it, but I didn't. So I don't know if it drew any sales from that or not. Um, but it really, made awareness. And I had, posters and stuff at some friends' booths. Uh, Parrot Outdoors had one, because he's part of the giveaway. And then Fish Hunt Northwest had, they were promoted it there, giving out flyers. And then the Ridgeline podcast, they had a booth that they were handing out flyers. And then I actually had one guy from the Nimrod company out of Idaho. He was all, "Hey man, I want a poster and I want some flyers. I want to help support you guys because it's going to come to Idaho if we don't stop it now." And so I went and got some more flyers and posters, and he put them up on his booth. And then the Ghost Bull out of Oregon, he was the same way. He's like, "I want to do anything I can do to help you guys fight." Um, and so it's like 1,000 flyers went by somewhere. Um, I have not had 1,000 orders, but uh, I wish I had 1,000 orders. But I think most importantly, as long as people are understanding what's happening to our hunting and fishing here in Washington, that you know they'll wake up.
Yeah, I mean, regardless of if everyone ordered or not, what you were doing was a big help to the cause anyway. Because we've all kind of been trying to figure out the best way to get people in the know, like ideas like the hunt rags and walking around with a sign like that was genius. Do
Yeah, I sometimes have those moments.
yeah. Uh, I had a question for you and I just forgot it, but that's all right.
That happens to me all the time.
Yeah, well, what's funny is if that Idaho and Oregon, like you said, those guys that wanted to help support us, it's a good reminder to anybody that's not in the state that doesn't think it applies to them. If all of us can't hunt here, where the hell do you think we're going?
Right.
We're going to be
Yep.
clogging your trailheads.
Right.
But
Yeah. One of the cool things when I was there at the Sportsman show, uh, I met Randy Newberg last year, and I actually gave him a tag wallet. And I didn't see his tag wallet in any of his videos this past year. And when he saw me, he put his head down and he's like, I know. And I'm like, I said, I know how it works, Randy. It's all good. And he's like, no, he goes, it's on my desk. I just haven't used it. But, he looked at the sign because he knows that, he's talked to the Bear Country guys, and I think he communicates with Dane a bit. I'm not really sure about that, but so he knows like some of the guys that are fighting in here, but he didn't know that I was trying to do my part as well. And so we just started talking about stuff, and uh, as we were talking, he just reached in his pocket, and I was just like, okay, that's kind of weird. And then he whipped out this money clip, and then he just started counting money, and then he just kind of reached over and gave it to me, and he's like, I don't want a t-shirt, but he says, I want to help support the cause. And I was like, well, that's really cool, Randy. So um yeah, they're the guys that know what's going on, they're willing to help. We just got to get more people alerted to what's going on.
Yeah, yep, that's the battle. And more appeal to those that, maybe don't hunt, don't follow any of us, but still think we should be able to, you know.
Right.
The last thing we need is anything to hit a ballot, because it's gonna
Right.
get we're gonna get out campaigned, we're gonna get out funded, we're gonna get out organized, because these people have been doing it since forever.
Right. And I was thinking about this the other day, and these guys that, I mean, I get it. I get what they're doing. They have lots of money, and they go buy these governor tags for $600,000. You know, some of them buy multiple states. They spend an ungodly amount of money so they can go shoot an animal. Yes, granted, that money is helping conservation. That's great. I totally understand that. I have nothing against that. But man, imagine if they could take that money and save hunting, you know, like those guys that, because it's this is just you and me, ground roots guys. We're not millionaires. We don't have the stuff, but just imagine those guys that are always going to those sheep shows and buying all those governor tags. If they would take that money and help us fight the Humane Society and get these idiots out of our commission, they could say, I helped save hunting,
Yeah,
rather than
that's a
I
good
helped save, rather than I contributed to an animal, you know?
that's a good point. You don't hear much from, you kind of get wind of who the guys are, um, that are buying these tags, and maybe what companies they own. And
Right.
I wonder if there's some sort of, if it's so and so owns this company and they start coming out fighting for hunting, if they're worried that that's going to affect their bottom dollar at the long run. And they really, I don't know. I hate to say that, but maybe some of them don't really give a shit if
Right.
it becomes a rich man game and it's more of just a dick measuring contest to some of them. But I don't.
Right.
I hope that's not the case. But
Yeah. I mean, like you saw what happened to the owner of Jimmy John's when everybody found out he was a hunter, and they tried getting everybody to protest, don't go to Jimmy John's. Well, obviously that didn't work, but, um, or that one dentist a couple years ago who bought that black rhino tag, and everybody's accusing him of, you know, whatever. It's like, dude, he spent a lot of money, and that money helped Africa out a lot. You
yeah,
know, they just don't get it. But yeah, I don't obviously I don't know any of those guys that buy those tags. Um, but yeah, if there was a way to reach these guys and say, hey man, help us out.
yeah. Yeah, so if you're some rich guy listening to this, get a hold of us. Buy a bunch of shirts.
Yeah, and I'm sure you probably know some legal people too, that we can go different avenues and try to approach it in a different avenue rather than just raising money to fight. I think if we could turn legislation over rather than just do lawsuits and fight lawsuits and all that stuff, I think it'd be better in the long run.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's an uphill battle for sure. I mean, they're every time you turn around, um, they're just chipping away at something. They're attacking on all ends, whether it's your taxes, your fucking gun rights, your hunting rights. It's just
Right.
what makes you want to pull your hair out.
Yep.
But
Yeah. It's getting ugly, that's for sure.
yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm glad I could get you on here finally. We've been trying for a little while.
Yeah.
Want to make sure, get as many people those shirts as we can. As soon as we hop off here, I'm gonna try and edit this thing out and drop it by morning. So um I'll tag you,
Cool.
I'll tag everybody that's donated if you wouldn't mind shooting me over a list.
Yeah.
Um and yeah, appreciate what you're doing. It's been awesome to kind of get to know you.
Yeah, you as well. I look forward to hanging out and doing some more stuff.
Yeah, absolutely, man. But yeah, thanks for coming on. If there's any last words or anything else you want to get out there, let me know. And
I guess like last words to the people that are listening. Um, like I said earlier, most of the people that are listening to Andy and other podcasts or on social media, we kind of know the deal. We know the fight, but not everybody is on social media. So maybe, take the time to educate your non-hunting friends or even your friends that hunting that don't do, like I have a lot of friends who don't do social media at all, that are great hunters, but they have no idea what's going on. And we just need to get people aware so we have more support and more people in the fight, and so we can put more pressure on and get things changed in the right direction.
yeah, absolutely. That's a great final thought. That's we get 10 people to tell 10 people, and those 10 people tell 10 people. We can make a pretty big difference in a hurry. So,
Right, for sure.
but all righty, Ross. I appreciate you coming on here. Looking forward to seeing you again. So,
Yeah, thanks, Andy. Thanks for having me on.
yep. You have a good night.
Yeah, you too. Talk to you later.
See ya.